Tip number 1, you need to focus on your hair's health rather than focusing on your hairstyle. So I'm willing to bet that the awkward phase has been incredibly challenging for you. And I'm willing to bet that it's been incredibly challenging for you because this is one of the first times in your life that you've not known how to style your hair. And it's probably one of the first times in your life that you've had people tell you that you need to get a haircut and your hair looks bad. If you're going through that, I would imagine that pretty much every single day you think about getting a haircut. I get it, right? This is how I'm feeling at the moment and this is how I felt before. So you need to change the goal and you need to start thinking about your hair growth journey in a different way. And the way that you're going to think about it is not about the style of your hair, because your hair has no style at the moment. You're going to start thinking about the condition and the health of your hair. And when we talk about the condition and the health of your hair, what I really mean is that this is the time when you are going to get to know your hair type, you're going to get to know your hair texture, and you are going to really get to know the best products that you should be using. And you're also going to be thinking about your diet, and you're going to be thinking about everything that you can do to create an environment for your hair to grow in the best possible way. So it's not about the style, it's not about the short term, it's about the long term. And I understand that this will seem incredibly challenging because if you're in the awkward phase, you're probably at least 6 months away from your hair looking the way that you want it to look. So to not have a style for a period of time as long as that is gonna feel difficult. It's gonna feel like a challenge. But if you can really get interested in your hair type, watch YouTube videos on it, do research and really understand it, you will start to feel better every single day. Because the hair that you do have, whilst it may not necessarily be in a style that you like, is gonna look healthier and it's gonna look better. And you also know as well that if you manage to get that right, the hair that is growing and your future hair as it will be is gonna look a lot better. So stop focusing on the short term and focusing on the style and start focusing on the long time and really maximizing on your hair's potential. Tip number 2, you need to start focusing on other aspects of your appearance and other aspects of your style. So when you go from a short haircut to a medium haircut and then from a medium haircut to a long haircut, it's actually surprising how much your appearance can really change. And it's actually really surprising how much people's perception of you can change. And whilst it can be a little bit daunting and it can feel uncomfortable and you can feel unattractive during those hair growth phases, what it can and what it should feel is actually really liberating, because you start to realize that things that hadn't suited you before will suddenly start suiting you again, or maybe suit you for the first time in your life. So one of the things that I recommend a lot of guys do when they grow out their hair is grow out facial hair at the same time. Just see what it looks like. As your hair gets longer, does a beard suit you? As your hair gets longer, does maybe a different beard style to what you've got currently suit you? And I say this because you're gonna look bad or you're not gonna look ideal because your hair is in a difficult phase. So this is the time to experiment and this is the time to see really what else works for you and what else doesn't work for you. Because essentially you're not losing as much points off your looks because you've already lost those points. It's also a great time as well to get in the gym and start building some muscle. Again, we're talking a lot in this video about delayed gratification, but if you're growing your hair and you're growing your body at the same time, it's a powerful combination. And investing that time earlier on and playing around with what it looks like to work out and put some muscle on your frame is really exciting later on. You can also try different clothing styles as well. This is something that I've done a bit during my hair growth journey this time around, and it can be really interesting just to see how different aspects and different things that you change in your appearance can really look different when you're growing out your hair at the same time. So don't be afraid to experiment, don't be afraid to try different things, and really just see what the result is with everything that you do. And if you don't like it, you can shave your facial hair, you can go back to dressing the way that you did before, you can do whatever you need to do. But the point is, this is a time when you should feel truly free to experiment, not a time where you should feel truly restricted by the fact that your hair doesn't look its best. Tip number 3, you need to embrace all aspects of growing out your hair. So this can mean multiple things, and truth be told, this is probably going to mean something different to you than it does to me. But the first aspect that I talk about when I mean embracing it is to share it with people. So when people tell you that you need a haircut, when people criticize it, when people ask you what's going on with your hair, a lot of the times it can feel like a personal attack. You just hear the criticism in what someone's saying. But what I've actually found and what I've actually realized is if you actually just are open, you're honest, you tell people that you're growing out your hair, most people are usually moderately interested. And what you'll then find is that the same people that were telling you that you should get a haircut, when you're through the awkward phase or your hair's got longer, usually they'll be the first to say that actually your hair looks pretty cool now. But one thing that I see a lot of guys do when we're talking about their hair growth journey, and one thing I see a lot of guys do when we're talking about guys not embracing their hair growth journey, is that when someone tells them to get a haircut, they hear it as criticism. They hear it as negative feedback. And if you can shift away from that and you can see that as an opportunity to joke about it, laugh about it, and then also tell people what you're doing, it actually becomes a different and a new source of motivation. Number 4, if you really hate it, cover it. And by it, I mean cover your hair. So I'm not a huge fan of this one because I think you should just fully embrace it and fully accept it. And I actually think that you should be proud of the fact that you're growing out your hair, particularly if you're a man and you're in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s and you've still got a full head of hair. But if it really is unbearable and you really don't like the way people look and you don't like the way people talk about your hair, cover it. Because covering it for 1 to 2 months is better than cutting it and then regretting getting that haircut. So I would say, if I think about my own hair or I think about the hair of guys that I've worked with or guys that I see with long hair, there is a point in the awkward phase where it really, really peaks. And if you're a guy with wavy or curly hair like myself, this is going to be the point where your hair just continues to grow out and out and out and out before it eventually drops. And if you're a guy with straight hair, this is going to be the point when your hair grows down, but it almost grows down in a really lank way and really starts to look lifeless. So if you're at that point and you really don't like it and you really want to cut it, don't cut it because you will regret that the minute you've done it. Just cover it, throw on a baseball hat, throw on a beanie, do whatever it is that you need to do. But I would argue the worst thing that you could do is cut it. Number 5, and I'm actually going to argue that this is the most important point as well. Stop calling it the awkward phase. See, the human mind is a really powerful thing. And if you tell yourself a story or you tell yourself a narrative, eventually you really start to believe it. So if you tell yourself that you're in the awkward phase of your hair growth journey, it feels 10 times worse. I'm fully in the awkward phase right now. It looks horrific. My hair looks absolutely terrible. And like I say, every single day I think about cutting it. I'm not gonna, but every single day I do think about cutting it. But if I don't call it the awkward phase, and instead I call it the growing phase, my mindset on it changes, and suddenly I start to feel more positive. So rather than thinking to myself, oh, my hair looks terrible, it looks awful, I can't wait to cut it, I start thinking to myself, wow, I'm actually surprised by how thick my hair is as I'm growing it. Or I start thinking to myself, I'm 34 years old and I've still got a full head of hair, that's amazing. It's just really powerful how narrative and story and the way you speak to yourself can really change your perspective on things. So rather than waking up and looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking, oh, I can't wait for my hair to be longer, I can't wait for this awkward phase to finish, start thinking about the fact that you're grateful for the fact that you even got the chance to grow out your hair. Start thinking about the fact that you're grateful that you can see now your hair is longer, it's actually thicker than you thought it was going to be. Maybe this is the first time you've grown your hair longer and you've actually realised that you like the curl pattern or you like the shape of it, whatever it may be. But the point is stop telling yourself the negative dialogue about how bad your hair looks and start telling yourself the positive dialogue that actually your hair is pretty cool now and your hair is going to be even cooler later. So I'm going to round off in this video, and I really hope that it's been powerful for you. I really hope that for you guys that are struggling with it, it's provided you with some motivation. But as always guys, take care, and I will see every single one of you in the next video.